I want to talk about tracking your progress as you write, and I want to talk about why I find it very, very useful. A couple of weeks ago now, Laura over at Laura Writes made a video about tracking your progress as you're writing, and I watched that and I thought about it, and I've been thinking about it a lot, so I want to make a video responding, basically. I'm going to link her video down below, and I want to make it clear that I am in no way arguing with her or saying that she's wrong, because she expressed her opinions. She has very good reasons for why she thinks what she thinks. I'm just coming at it from a different angle, and I want to explain how I'm thinking. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to share here, and I think this is a very interesting topic, so please do argue with me in the comments. Just, do it nicely. So let's get into it. Tracking for me is very, very useful. It can make me feel bad, which is one of Laura's arguments. If you haven't watched her video yet, you maybe should, because I am going to refer to it. But either way, tracking can make me feel bad, but it can also make me feel very, very good about myself. So I started tracking in February 2006. I was 18, I was in high school, I had never heard of authortube, I had never even heard of NaNoWriMo, and so it was all my idea. I just started tracking because I wanted to see how I was doing. Or so I assume. I don't actually remember why I started tracking, but I mean, obviously I had some kind of reason, so. I tracked pages at first, and then in 2011 I started tracking pages and words, and in 2012 I stopped tracking pages and only tracked words for a while, and since 2016 I have been tracking words and time spent on my writing. I will say though that from July 2016 until November last year, so 2019, it's been a bit off and on if I have been tracking or not, because I've been going through a period of burnout and anxiety and possibly depression, I don't know, and it got too much for me to track, so yeah. But apart from that, now I have started to track again, and I do love it. And I should say that I'm one of those weird writers that actually likes numbers. I hated math in school, but numbers, if it, pertains to something that I'm interested in, are a lot of fun. So apart from being useful, I actually do find tracking fun. I also track words and time per writing session and not, for example, writing sprints. If I do sprint with someone, I am going to compare my words to them. But in general, what I write down in my tracking document is how much I've written during a day or a writing session. Because when it comes to tracking sprints, that means very little to me, and that might be because I usually have the highest number or one of the highest numbers. And that's not bragging, that's just a fact. I am a very, very fast typer, and when I sprint, I don't think a lot and I just type, and so obviously I get a lot of words. So yeah, that might be a reason why tracking sprints doesn't mean a lot to me, because I don't feel like it's a competition. And that's the thing too, I am not tracking to compete with anyone. I am not tracking to compare myself to anyone other than myself. I agree with Laura, there is no point in tracking to compare yourself with others, and there's no point in knowing that, ooh, I wrote X many words in those 10 minutes, but I only wrote like half of that in the next 10 minutes, because it doesn't matter, because sometimes it just flows more naturally, and sometimes you have to stop and think about what you're writing, and sometimes, you're just not feeling it. So comparing one 10-minute sprint to another 10-minute sprint done by yourself or someone else, I don't see a point in that. Partially also because getting more words doesn't necessarily mean anything, because the 600 words that I wrote in this sprint might be absolute crap, whereas the 200 words that you wrote are the best words you have ever written in your life. So, I mean, obviously, your 200 brilliant words are worth way more than my 600 crappy ones. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on from that and moving to where tracking for me is good. Because for me, tracking is a longer-term thing. I do it over longer periods of time, and while I do track how much I get in a writing session, that is not what I compare. I compare months or even years. And the reason I do this is because I want to be able to prove to myself what I have accomplished in the past. Because I think any writer will recognize this scenario where you are in a writing slump and you haven't been writing for a while, or every time you sit down to write, you write a few words and then you just look at those words and say that this is horrible. Why am I writing? What's the point of this? I haven't written in ages. I should just stop. When I have those moments, I can go back and look at my tracking, and I can see that, yes, right now I am in a writing slump, but 2 weeks ago, I did write this many words over that many hours, and that's pretty impressive. And 3 months ago, there's another writing slump. There was a period of time when I didn't write a lot, but I got out of that. And if I did that once, I can do it again. Not to mention that I can go back and see that in 2012, I wrote a total of 687,814 words. That is almost 14 nanonovels. That is like 7 or so novels of my usual length manuscript. And those are words that I've written. That is art that I have created, and that is amazing. That is so impressive. And I can go back and look at that and feel good about having accomplished that. Now, obviously, not all of those words were good words. Maybe none of them were. I don't know. I'm not entirely certain which words exactly I wrote in 2012, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if those words were bad, because any writer is going to tell you that you need to write a lot of crap in order to be able to write better. Every bad sentence you write teaches you something, and you do better the next time. And to look at the numbers again, since I started tracking my writing in 2006, I have tracked over 5.5 million words. And obviously there's a bit more during the past few years when I haven't written every single word down, when I haven't tracked every single word. But just think about that, 5.5 million words. Like, imagine how much I must have evolved in that time. Imagine how much better I am at writing now than in 2006, just because I have written all of those words, most of which are probably not good. But it's just, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to know how much time and effort I have put into my art to develop it and to get better at it, and just spending time doing something that I love. And to me, that is the point of tracking. It is not to see that I wrote less in that hour than I did in that hour, or to push myself to write more every hour that I track. It's to be able to go back and look at months and years where I have been writing, where I have been creating art without having to go back and actually read those words, because that might make me feel worse, because they might be horrible. I will say, though, that those are just numbers. They are numbers that make me incredibly happy, but I understand that they might not do that for everyone. I understand that numbers might not mean the same thing to others. So I do have a tip, and it's not actually my tip, it's Matilda's tip, because we talked about this a while ago, after Laura had made her video and we'd watched it and we discussed it, and she came up with what I think is a brilliant idea for a way to track that doesn't focus on numbers. This is not something that I've tried yet. I'm going to start trying this in February, but it's tracking how happy you are with what you've written. I'm still going to track my numbers, but you don't have to do that. You can just sit down and you write, and then after the writing session, you write down, or you color code or something, how good you feel about the words that you've written. So you color-coded green for "these are amazing words," or yellow for "they're okay," and red for "this is absolutely terrible, I never want to read it again." The theory behind this is that then you can go back when you feel like everything you have ever written will be red, everything will be horrible, and you go back and look at and see that, no, actually there's a fair bit of green there. Obviously, this doesn't work if you are always very self-critical, and it also doesn't work if you start to doubt your former self and saying that, yeah, then I thought those words were good, but now they're probably crap. Because once again, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you read your words a month after and feel that, oh, these were actually horrible. How could I write this? Because that, partially, that means you've evolved. That means that now you could do better. And that's a good thing. And I mean, quality is very, very difficult to track. I have no idea how I would track, the actual quality of my words, because that's very subjective. And one day I might think they're awful, and one day I might think they're amazing. And so I don't think that's possible, but it is possible to track your mood, your confidence, or whatever it is you want to call it, how confident you are in the writing as you do it right now. Because, as Laura also said, writing is an art. And with art, the only thing that really matters is how you feel about it in the moment when you're creating it. Um, it does also matter, obviously, we want to put out a good product, and obviously we can't feel good about our art all the time. But still, you do art because you enjoy it. And in times when you don't enjoy it, if you can go back and see that, yes, there have been other times when you haven't enjoyed it, but there has also been so many times when you have enjoyed it, so you should keep going and you will get back to that. So that's, again, I think that that is a very good way to track if you don't want to track numbers and if you don't want to track how much you produce, which is another point that Laura made. And obviously, I'm not telling you, I'm not telling Laura, I'm not telling anyone that you have to track something. You're fully allowed, obviously, to not track anything at all and to just write and just write. You're allowed to do this hobby however you want to do it, but I'm just saying, if you do want to track, this could be an alternative to tracking words or time or whatever else you're currently tracking that is possibly not making you feel great. And I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm not saying it's going to work for me. Again, I haven't tried it yet. I'm going to try it for at least a month and see how it works out. And yeah, if anyone else want to try it, do, and let me know below how it went for you, if this feels good. Or just let me know if you disagree with me, or if you also like numbers, because I like numbers. I want to talk to other authors who like numbers. I don't know why I don't want to talk about numbers, but anyway, just talk to me in the comments. Thank you for watching. I hope this video was useful and didn't step on any toes, and I will see you in my next video.